Welcome back to the channel, guys. Welcome back to the channel. So today I have another case for you, another domestic violence case. This is the case of Swallher, and the husband is called Sh0t. This incident happened in Mwanza earlier on this week, and this case is just so crazy. This man shot his wife 7 times, like a criminal. I have gathered some information, including a timeline of events, what may have happened, what led to this shooting, but we will never know what exactly led him to do something awful like this. So let's get into the video. Timelines might be a little bit dodgy, but Swallher and Sh0t were a couple. They were husband and wife. According to the information that is available online, the couple got together and married around December of 2021. They had been married for just about 5 months. It's being reported that Sh0t had been married 3 times before, and this was his 4th marriage. Now, some people are reporting that he was still very much with these other wives, but there are actually 2 wives who've come forward and shared their experience, and they've said they were no longer together with him. One of the wives actually has a child. Swallher was the 4th wife in this relationship, and she was the most current wife. Sh0t lived with a little boy who is said to be Sh0t's son. I'm not sure from which relationship, but based on the information I've gathered, I'm thinking it's probably from wife number 2. Swallher and Sh0t also lived with 2 girls who are actually Swallher's siblings, and of course that child from I'm not sure which relationship. Swallher was a very successful makeup artist. In fact, there are photos of her receiving an award. I'm not very sure what that award is for, but you can clearly see she was a very talented woman. She was working hard. She was trying very hard to build her career in the makeup industry. Sh0t is also said to be a very successful businessman. He's in the fishing industry and he is very successful at that. The business was doing very well. He was thriving. It has been reported that Sh0t, the husband of Swallher, did not like her to go anywhere, including to go and do her job because, you know, as a makeup artist, you have to travel usually at events, or if you're going to do someone's, you know, makeup for weddings or for birthdays and things like that. So you have to travel a lot to attend these events in order to, you know, make people faces. So the husband was not happy with this. Just based on that information, it's being reported that Sh0t was a very jealous man. He loved so hard, but he was also jealous at the same time. He was a great provider. He provided for all of the wives. He supported them fully, but on another hand, he was extremely jealous, and he did not want any of the wives to be outside to go and do things on their own without him being with them. Now, I want to share a bit of a timeline based on the witness accounts that have been shared online so far. So the first witness is actually Swallher's sister, who has been living with them for the time they have been together. She's seen them argue, she's seen them quarrel. She basically knows how toxic the relationship was. So she talks about how they argued constantly and they quarreled and they had fights in the home all the time. She said the man was extremely jealous of Swallher. One time, a date, she has actually given us a date of this incident. So it was around 12th of May, just a day before Swallher celebrated her birthday. She asked for her husband for money to go and do her hair, which she was given. So after doing her hair, she decided to catch up with a girlfriend at a local popular spot in Mwanza. And while she was at that spot, she decided to actually take the video that I'll put on the screen plus a photo. And fortunately or unfortunately, one of Saidi's friends spotted her at that spot, actually spotted the car, because the car on the screen was actually Saidi's car. And she was driving, she had been driving it a lot. And on that day, she was driving the car as well. So this friend spotted the car and innocently decided to call Saidi to ask him what he was doing at that spot. And then he said, no, I'm not there, I'm at work, and that's it. And as soon as he hangs up the call, he calls this woman and he's so furious. He's asking, what is she doing there? Who is she with there? She just gets into this rage and gets so angry for no proper reason, because then to him that she was there to, to meet up with a friend. And in fact, she had the little boy with her as well. But the husband did not understand this. So in the morning, he decides to come back home. Now, one thing with Saidi used to work away from home. So he would be away for a month, sometimes 2 weeks. So because he was angry from this argument and obviously suspicious that the wife might be doing something, I don't know what got onto his head. And he comes back home and he's still very angry. And this girl has apologized, and you're apologizing for nothing. You're apologizing for no reason. At this point, he calls the brother and tells the brother that, look, I'm not happy with your sister. Your sister doesn't listen to me. Your sister does not pick up my calls. And he goes into this rant mode with the brother. And the brother is like, okay, fine, I will try and talk to her and see what's going on. Then the brother calls the sister, trying to find out, what is going on in your home. And the sister is like, look, this is what happened. We talked about it. I told him I'm sorry. Next time I'll let him know every single thing I am doing. I'm sorry I forgot to let him know that I was going to this spot and meeting a friend. I have apologized so many times. I don't know what else to do. So talks about another incident that happened. The husband returned home from work. Swallher had gone to the city, I don't know, maybe just running errands. And then when she got home, she found that the husband was home and he was really mad. He started asking her, where have you been? Where did you go? Where he started talking about, you do not respect me. I have had a lot of things that you're doing from the neighbors. The neighbors are talking about me. There's so much going on. And he just goes into this verbal rant. And all of a sudden he pushes Swallher and pushes her to the bedroom and pushes her again, I think very hard at this point, and she drops down and apparently she ends up, fainting, while the sister is asking them to calm down. The sister is asking the brother-in-law to calm down. He doesn't calm down. The woman faints, and as soon as the woman faints, then I think he came to his senses and realized, oh my God, what am I doing? And then they decided to call a nurse on her. And she actually, apparently she was gone for about 24 hours. So I'm imagining it was probably not just pushing. He don't want to say it because, or otherwise he was pushed into a wall, into something that knocked her completely out, because she was out for 24 hours. She had actually to be taken to her parents. She was on drip for pretty much the whole time, but she recovered, and her parents convinced her that, she needed to go back to the husband. The parents advised her just to go back and try and work it out with the husband. Anyway, after the parents' intervention, Swallher goes back home and everything is back as usual. What's interesting is that nothing changes, and even the arguments and the cruelty just gets over the top. On the fateful night, Swallher had been away for work. She got some work. I think a friend was having an event, and she said she cannot miss this event because these people were close to her. So she decides to travel. She decides to go to that event. And while she's at the event as a makeup artist, once you start doing somebody's face, you really don't have time to be on the phone like that because you're chasing time. Maybe you have up to 10 clients to make up, and you're pretty much running for time. And if you've ever done makeup even on yourself, proper makeup takes a lot of time. So she tries to explain to this man that, I'm working, I cannot come to the phone all the time, but the man wouldn't stop calling her. So she decides, okay, you know what, I'm going to put this phone down. And so at that point, the man is extremely furious, but then he's away at work. Anyway, this girl does what she needed to do. She finishes her work and tries to call him. Now he doesn't pick up. Now he doesn't want to talk. So the girl goes back home, and I'm not sure at what point she ended up being at her parents, because at some point she goes back to the parents and she spends the time there with the parents. And even this man keeps calling her at her parents, constantly calling her, and just being nasty on the phone. In fact, the mother says that this man was constantly talking so harshly to my daughter, and she couldn't understand it, but being a parent, she was just trying to calm her down, trying to console him as well, because in the end, like, the final call that was made to her, and the man said to her, please ask your daughter to come home and cook for me. I am so hungry. I have just come from work and there's no food in this house. Now, at this point, the woman decides to release the girl. Go back to your home, go and look after your husband. And this would actually be the last time they see their daughter, because she goes back home, and she gets home and the husband is back home, and as the younger sister has shared, she was actually in the kitchen already, she started preparing food, because the man had arrived home and she was the one who was home. So she started preparing the food. So her, she's busy in the kitchen, them they're in the bedroom. Of course, I think they were having an argument. I'm not sure, this girl doesn't say. All of a sudden she hears the first gunshot, and she hears her sister crying, and of course she calls out, dada, shemeji, and everyone is quiet. And then she hears another gunshot. At this point now, she's so scared. She's even scared for her life. And then she calls out and there's nothing. And then she hears another two more gunshots. So according to her, she only had 4 gunshots, but when the police came to the scene, there were actually 7 spent cartridges. So this man, in that moment, shot his wife 7 times, like a criminal. And then guess what he does? After shooting his wife, he decides to run away. So he immediately took off, did not call for help, did not call for an ambulance. He just took off. So now this young girl is left there stranded with her sister, who is bleeding profusely, and she doesn't even know what to do. So she decides to run out and inform the neighbors of what has happened. For some reason, the neighbors had been afraid of this man, because I think he had threatened them after having so many, quarrels in his home, that the neighbors had to intervene. He had cautioned them against, tampering with his home and getting into, arguments whenever he had arguments with his family, that his family was his business. So the neighbors were completely turned off. They were so afraid of him, allegedly. So now the girl decides to run and get some border. Oh my God, border. The border come in and they say, look, this is a police case. We cannot do anything about this. So at this point, the police is called. By the way, guys, if there's ever an incident like this, just call the police. Call an ambulance first. If there's a way of calling an ambulance, call an ambulance first. Try to save a life. Call the police. Usually the ambulance would trigger the police to come anyway. So make sure you do that. But I'm sympathizing with her, because I can imagine how confused she was. She didn't even know what to do. Plus, she's a very young girl. She looks like she's a teenager or something like that. So anyway, the police come and they take her away in a police car. So the poor woman is bleeding and is taken away in a police car, seated in a police car, and they go to the hospital. Unfortunately, she doesn't make it and she's declared dead. Then this man decides to run away. He decides to go to the water. First of all, get deep in the water. I don't know how deep he went. And then he shoots himself. So the following morning, his body is found floating by the sea. That were married to this man previously have shared their experiences living with this man, and it's almost like the same story. So the first one, who I'm told is wife number 2, says he was married to this man for 6 years. She lived in the same house that this woman has been killed in, and she had a child with him. I'm not sure if it's the same child that lived with Swallher, but I want to believe it's the same child. She said she left the man because they would have constant fights. He was fighting her constantly. Now I don't know if that's verbal or physical, but at this point, you know, it could be anything. So she decided to choose peace. She decided to leave away from him, and so she left him in 2019. They had been together 6 years. She says generally he was a good person. At the time, he did not have the kind of money he had accumulated right now, but still he was a provider. He worked so hard to make sure that they were provided for. The other wife, who is the third wife and who left immediately before Swallher was married. So they dated just shy of 2 years. She says she was with him for 2 years. He did not have money at the time because he had actually lost his money. I think he had faulted in government taxes, and government had fined him a lot of money. So he didn't have money at that time. In fact, when they met, he was living in a hotel, but he was supported by family, and he ended up leaving that hotel and came back home to his house, this current house. So he's restarted his life again. At that point, he restarted this business, the fishing business again, and it really picked up. Now, asked on why she left, she said the man was very harsh, he was very cruel, he was very rude. He used to work away from home for a month or 2 weeks at a time, and whenever he came home, he would just be chaos. There was no peace at home. Whenever he was at home, it was just chaos. On the other hand, he was a great lover. He loved so deeply. He used to provide for the family. And I think she also lived with some of his children, because she says she lived with 3 children in the home. During their relationship, this woman says that he tried to end his life one time because of frustrations at work, but he survived. Now, she says that this man was quick to anger. He would get so angry really fast and make poor decisions. So I want to believe that this is probably part of the reason why he decided to do what he did, but still no excuse for that. This girl, this ex-wife, was only 23 years. So again, those are some of the actual witnesses, actual statements from the people who lived around this man. Sh0t has been buried. I think he was buried yesterday or the day before. The woman will be buried very soon, as soon as the police investigations are completed. So just another sad day for women, just another sad day for us ladies. I've tried to put it together because there's so many videos on this case, and it's just bits and pieces. So I decided to put it all together for you in one video, so you can just come and grab your coffee and enjoy it. So you're now up to date with this case. This is it for this case, guys. That's it for this case. If you're not subscribed to the channel, guys, make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you turn on that post notification bell so you know every time I post. Thank you so much for coming back to my channel. Thank you for watching this video. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.